Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, Monkey Wrench. I'm Kelly with the monkey with the wrench. True monkey. So, as promised, the series on this e-bike is beginning. It will be interspersed with other machines, of course, because I have a job to do and I film most of my repairs. But this video series should be completed by Thanksgiving. Because I'm not gonna do a lot of talking. I'm just going to get to it and kind of show you the things that I've done. Now, so far I've taken off the handlebars, and I realized that these handlebars are actually quite wide. And when I put them up against my current handlebars, they are quite wide. And I actually would like some taller handlebars, so all I have to do to these bars would be add the round handlebar part, and I can make another set of rise handlebars to put back on this bike. So maybe doing that, who knows. But so far all of these were just held on by Allen screws, so I took those off both sides, and the owner or the person who gave me this asked me if they could actually have the basket. In order to take the basket off, I had to take the stem out, which is this part right here. There's just a Allen bolt that goes in the top, goes down into the frame. Boom, take that off. Then you screw this off, and this is a nice way to put the plate on there to make it nice and stable. And that will come off. So now that that's off, because these cables fit through here, I have to take that off the top. I can play with the cables here just a little to get that off, and then I want to put my retaining nut back on. This is what holds the forks up in place, remember? The fork goes through here, the bearings are on there. Now you can change forks, and I will probably change to a more expensive fork with better suspension. But for the moment, when I take something apart, I actually like to put the pieces back together if they're not going to be in the way of what I'm currently doing, so I don't lose anything. And now that does not want to go deep enough, of course. Now it's slanted, and it's kind of corroded in there. So it just doesn't want to go down far enough. But anyway, I'm going to put that back on. We are going to make this easy. Okay, let me tell you, if you watch the original video on this, I was not sure what kind of bike this was. I looked it up, and it's made by a brand called Watseka. It's a Chinese bike, Watseka, Watseka, and it retails for, drum roll please, $600. There were very few reviews on it, and the ones that were there said it was a total crap fest. It's a 250 watt motor, 36 volt, which is what I expected it to be, which is what I said in the last video. So the motor's complete crap, the controller's complete crap, the throttle system, everything about this thing is cheap garbage. So I will not be keeping any of it. I am going to remove the basket. I am going to keep all of these parts in one place so that I can put them back together whatever I don't upgrade. And instead of trying to take things apart as far as the wiring is concerned, I'm not even going to bother to try. The set that I buy comes complete with throttle that's already wired. It comes complete with the LCD screen with your speedometer and your odometer and everything. Everything's pre-wired, and that stuff is easy to feed through. So I am just literally going to cut the wires. I'm going to attach some string to one side of it so that I can pull the string through as I pull the wires out, and that way I can use the string to pull the new wires through when I'm ready. So if you are doing something like this, remember, if you're removing wiring anyway, pull string through as a snake. Trying to feed a wire through something long and curved and find it at the other end is a pain. Just take some electrical tape, tape a little bit of string to it, pull the string through, then use the string to fish it back and forth. So let me cut these wires and do that. Now, if you know me, when I'm working on something for a customer, I tend to do as professional a job and complete as possible. When I'm working on something for myself, I tend to throw it together. It looks like crap, but it's functional. One good thing about an e-bike that is not finish painted, that is not, you know, it's multicolored and it looks like it's been Frankenstein together, is that it's less of a theft risk. And that is always a positive thing. What I'm doing right now is taking this wrap off, because this is always good for other projects. It's just a wrap that goes around and keeps wires and cables and stuff together. But what I'm looking for, I don't want to cut the brake cable, because brake cables are, you know, you reuse those basically. So I want to remove the brake cable. Now this right here, this is one of those brake levers, and this comes with the kit as well, that has the wire to it that when you pull the brake lever, it actually cuts off the engine. These come with pretty much every standard kit, and I always cut the wires off and use the brake levers. So I'm not worried about that, but I am going to leave enough on there in case I want to rewire it later. I can do that. And then the throttle cable itself, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to leave plenty of it on there, because usually there's only 1 or 2 wires in there, and I can reuse that as well. And they should be standard across the board no matter what. I'm going to do the same thing here. Now, if you weren't worrying about, you know, reusing this stuff, keeping this stuff, then it doesn't matter. I actually didn't want to cut those 2 wires because they are crossover. I can put those right on my new kit and have them as spares and backups, but I have to. And this is going to be the wiring for the horn and stuff, so that's okay to cut because those will be pretty simple to rewire and I will know exactly what they are. This, you just undo the same way. But it doesn't look like there's enough space to do that. Alright, so I'm going to have to loosen the brakes in I don't even know if that's front or rear. Something's stopping that brake from moving. And I'm not going to be able to get that out without it, so damn it, I didn't want to have to. Oh, there, we get a little bit of movement. That's the rear brake. Let's see if I can get enough. Nope. Alright, I'm going to have to free up the rear brake so that I can get that cable out without cutting it. It's a good length and there's nothing wrong with it. Well, I've spent the last few minutes working on attempting to save the shifter cable. I got the back undone. I started undoing the little frame mounts, only to find that these are permanent and I won't be able to get the end through it no matter what through these 3 unless I go ahead and cut them. So instead of being able to save it, I am not going to be able to save it. there are just certain things that you cannot save when you're working on something old. And that's just the way it goes. So, buying some new cables at $20 is not the worst thing in the world when you're talking about building a new bike, a new form of transportation. So let's just make it easier and get these stupid things off and out of there. So what I'm gonna do is finish feeding this. That's out. Now I can turn the bike back upwards. I love having that kickstand on there. Makes working on this thing so much easier. So, I was trying to save the shifter without having to take it apart. I'll just take it apart. No big deal. It does not change the derailleur on the back at all. And now that fits through, that fits through, and that fits through. I can finish pulling. And these are just the like the derailleur cable and the brake cable. I'm not pulling the wires out of the frame yet. I'm just trying to get the rest of this stuff apart. Alright. So now I've got the wires going through the frame. I'm going to turn off the camera. I'm going to cut the wires down here where they come through the frame, and we're going to take off the rear wheel, and then we'll have some room to see. Wow, that was a lot to go through to get that damn basket off. It's a good thing I was taking the whole thing apart to only utilize the frame, or I would have never even tried to remove that. All the wiring went through the bracket. I would have cut the bracket off and called it a day. So I am at the point now where I'm about to pull these wires through the bike frame itself. I went ahead and attached a piece of string that's good and solid. Now, I passed the string by about 5 inches. And an important tip is when you're wrapping it with electrical tape, go past whatever you attach the two together. In other words, the string stops about 1 inch shy of the tape. Make it tight and bring it past the string you're attaching. That way, when it goes through the hole, there's nothing to drag on it and kind of tear against it and build up and cause you an issue. Now, I'm going to pull these through one at a time to give myself maximum amount of space when I pull the one with the fishing line on. And I don't have to worry. See, that's the one that I got the line on, so I'm going to pull that through last. I don't have to worry about having cut all these wires, because the bits that I may use later, I can always rewire. And I know now that it was worth losing a couple of brake cables in order to get this. Now I can tell right now as I'm pulling these wires that it's kind of skinny. This tube looks big, but it seems like it's kind of skinny in there, which is why I wanted to make sure A, all the wires are out of the way, and B, I have a long enough fishing line that I won't run out of fishing line when I'm halfway there. This will come out the other end, and I'll show you what I'm going to do with that. So I'm going to feed this through, and I'm going to pull it right out the end. And now I have a fishing line that will work for when it's time I'm in a 4-foot area, barely moving, and yet I never know where I put my tools. I don't need this wire or this fishing line, so I'm just going to cut the wire to get it off. And what I'm going to do is basically, when it comes to painting, I will more than likely use this line to hold the bike up in the air. And in the meantime, I'm just going to take the two ends of this fishing line, and I call it a fishing line because I'm fishing wires through, and I'm just going to tie it together. That way, over the course of the next few days or weeks or months, depending on how long it takes you, never be in a hurry to do a project like this, the line won't get pulled on accidentally and find you that you pulled it back out of the tube and now you have to start from scratch. It's nice that I can go in from the top here, it'll come straight down, and I can come out the side. So I could get it back out if I needed to in the future. However, that is not going to be something I am worried about. These cranks are nice, but I'm probably going to replace these cheap pedals too. The cranks are nice, they're good. And I'm not going to be replacing the bearing on the crankshaft either. But for the moment, we're almost there to the point where I can take this motor off. Now it looks like there's a couple of screws here. It looks like 4 Phillips heads, so I'm going to take those out real quick to get this unit off, pull those wires through the frame, and then we're going to see what it's going to take to get this rear end off, and I'll bring you back. Yeah, wow. Those of you that are interested in the specs on this bike, I did see that they use a lithium or a lead acid battery, like a car battery, and it weighs 25 pounds. It's twice the size of the lithium ion battery I have, twice the weight and half the capacity. I have a 20 amp hour battery that's half the size and literally half the weight. And you get anywhere from 500 to 800 charging cycles. So if you plug it in every night to charge it, you get 2 years to 3 years before you have to worry about it. Lead acid batteries, you can't do that. You're lucky to get maybe 200, maybe a third of that. So which is one of the reasons why these bikes are so cheap. I took those 4 screws off. I took that top cover off, and they mounted this stuff through the plate that's welded on, which is fine. There's your control box, so I'll definitely be keeping that. Most of these will just unplug. And like I said, I may build like a little 20-inch tire fat bike or something and put this little 250 watt motor on it. Just maybe give it to a local kid to go out and play with, because there's no reason to throw it away, and I get bikes for free all the time. So it would make a good video down the road. These all hook up the same way. They're standard across the board. And when I put the new one in, I'll show you how. But there's the control box, which will stay in there, stay in the box. 250 watt is the smallest motor that you can put on any e-bike. It's the smallest motor they make. These are the connections for the motor right here, which is why I did not cut that one, because again, I may end up building a bike for a neighborhood kid or something. These connections are all standard on the kit that I will be buying, the same kit that I run on that bike. So keeping them is not a bad thing. All these connections are good, and I have plenty of wire extensions for longer frames, things like that. So now the pedal assist is what's left. I'll deal with that after. What I'm going to attempt to do, this has an internal drum brake, so I'm going to have to take out these screws, and I'm going to have to, that looks like it's got some kind of plastic cover on it. I'm going to have to get the plastic cover on it. I'm going to have to get this wheel off, so let me move the bike around and see what it's going to take. This side is easy. This side looks small. Not that I care, because that's all part of that motor, that rim, that I just got to get it off. Well, let me just say, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. For a $600 bike that is generally known to be a piece of crap, according to everything I read about it, they overbuilt this back wheel like nobody's business. They put motorcycle brakes, drum brakes on this thing. Not disc brakes, drum brakes on this 250 watt motor, and its top speed is 12 miles an hour. That's less than you can pedal. Whereas my 1,000 watt motor does 40 miles an hour and runs on regular brakes. And I've never had an issue, ever. I replace the brake pads about every 6 months. It's a joke that they overbuilt this thing. Everything is tied into everything else. I had to take screws out of the cable mechs and all that crap just to get this far. And I think I can get this back wheel off now. I think. I wanted to show you how the kickstand worked. The bike is upside down, so when you go to raise it, it goes up like that and locks in place, and it has this big, nice, wide stance on it. It's all steel, and then when you're ready to pull the bike back down, pull the bike back down. So let me see if I can get it off. They have the motor wire going through the kickstand, which means you can't get it apart unless you cut all the ends off. But the good thing about this kickstand, and I was literally going to order one for Bob over there. My first bike was called Ellie, short for electric. I was going to order one for Bob. This will fit on Bob just exactly the same way as it fit on here. And that is a beautiful thing, because I am going to be able to use this kickstand, and that's going to save me $60. Unfortunately, I have to cut the ends off of these, but fortunately for me, I know they're the exact same ends that are on that motor. Also, like I said, I may use this to make a kid's bike or something for a neighborhood kid, but that is one heavy-duty kickstand, baby. And that, my friends, is going on Bob, and that's going on Bob tomorrow. Now, what's left here? I already undid the derailleur because all I saw was a screw or a bolt head, and I wasn't sure. So just to get all this crap off, yeah, I took off the derailleur and the nut fell. So I'm gonna just have to put that back on myself. I believe now that I should be able to pull this rear wheel off and get it out of the way. And there we go. Motorcycle disc brakes or dirt bike disc brakes, that, my friend, is just a joke on a bike that does 12 miles an hour. Now, you could pedal the bike faster than that. The average person rides at 15, 16 miles an hour. So clearly you can pedal. It's a 17 speed. You can pedal it faster than the motor will run it, but you can't pedal it faster than any other bike. So to put motorcycle or dirt bike disc brake or drum brakes on this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Now, I need to find the little nut, which I'm about to shut off the camera and do, so that I can put the derailleur back on. I like this because it has a really nice long, that's 2.5 inches or better, for that motor to go in and really push from behind. So I don't know whether I'm going to put a rear motor back on this thing just for that reason. I like being able to push the bike from completely from behind and have plenty to push, rather than put the motor on the front and pull on that fork and only have one spot where you're pulling the whole thing from. So I may still do the rear wheel rear motor on this, I don't know. But for the moment, all I'm going to do now is finish taking off any of this little crap that's left, breaking this plastic out of here. I'm going to take this rear fender off. We are down to basically the frame, which is what I wanted. There's a nut and bolt in this fender to get that out of the way. And I don't know if I can put this on Bob without having to cut. See, even on that, it goes around the axle and the wire has to come through it in order to go up. So I'd have to undo Bob's wiring, cut off the plugs just to run that through there. So that's not going on there tonight. Maybe in a couple of days after I oil this up and paint it and make sure that we're good to go and it will fit. But in the meantime, I'm going to take off the fender, put the derailleur back on as soon as I find the little nut to hold it in place. And like I said, I don't know whether I'm going to be replacing the crank plate there or whether I'm just going to replace these little cheap ass pedals with something nice and grippy and good looking. The cranks themselves look good, so I think with that I'm going to end this video for now. I left the pedal assist sensor on there. It has the same exact plug as the pedal assist that comes on here, and that one's already set, so I should be able to just plug that into the new kit when I put the new bike together, and that should be working. So my pedal assist I'm not going to take off. So yeah, that ends the video on this particular one. The next time you see this, the front fork will probably be off, and we will be welding the back end of this to fit the battery in and adding a few little tubes to it, and then we'll be getting ready to paint. Because assembling the new bike takes about an hour, and you don't even need to watch all that. These kits are so easy to work with that literally I just spent 3 hours pulling the old one apart, and it's going to take an hour to put the new one together, and all I have to do before I do that is paint. So thanks for stopping by. If you made it this far, hit the like button, leave me a comment. I'm still looking for paint color choices, and I'll see you soon.